The sterile air of St. Mary's Hospital carried the faint smell of disinfectant and despair. Nurses rushed from room to room, their footsteps echoing against the tile floors. Families sat slumped in plastic chairs, some praying, others staring blankly at walls that had witnessed too much pain. But amid all this, one voice pierced the noise. "Please, please, someone help my daughter." A young mother clutched the counter of the reception desk, her voice trembling, desperate. Her hands shook as she held a crumpled envelope of money, barely a fraction of what was needed. A worn teddy bear slipped from her arm and landed on the floor with a soft thud. She didn't even notice. "Ma'am, without full payment, we cannot schedule the surgery," the receptionist replied flatly, her eyes avoiding the mother's pleading stare. The mother broke down, her sobs filling the corridor. People turned their faces away. No one stopped. But behind a pane of tinted glass, in a private hospital lounge reserved for the wealthy, a man in a tailored suit froze. He was Richard Hale, a billionaire whose name alone commanded boardrooms. Yet, for the first time in years, something pierced through his armor of indifference. He couldn't take his eyes off her. Her name was Emily Carter, just 29, but life had already carved deep lines of exhaustion on her face. She worked 2 jobs, cleaning offices by night, waiting tables by day. Every cent went toward keeping her daughter, Lily, clothed and fed. 7-year-old Lily was her whole world. Bright eyes, a laugh that could warm the coldest heart. But a sudden collapse at school revealed a terrifying truth, a congenital heart defect that required urgent surgery. Without it, Lily wouldn't make it past a year. The cost? $180,000. For Emily, it might as well have been a mountain to climb barefoot. She had begged relatives, sold her furniture, even pawned her wedding ring, the last memory of a husband taken too soon by a car accident. Still, she barely scraped together $4,000. "Ma'am," the receptionist repeated, her tone sharp this time, "we cannot perform charity care on such an advanced case. You'll need to explore other hospitals." Emily's knees gave way. She sank to the floor, tears streaming down her cheeks. People passed by, uncomfortable, unwilling to meet her eyes. "Please," she whispered to no one in particular, "save my daughter. She's all I have." Across the hall, Richard Hale clenched his jaw. He wasn't used to hesitation. In his world, problems were solved with contracts and numbers. Emotions were weaknesses he buried long ago. But as he watched Emily's trembling hands clutching that teddy bear, a memory surged, his mother's face, pale and desperate, kneeling by his childhood bed when he was sick. She had begged neighbors for help, endured humiliation, all to save him. Richard swallowed hard. That image refused to fade. Richard stepped out of the lounge, his polished shoes echoing down the hall. People glanced up, recognizing him instantly. Some whispered, "That's Hale, the Hotel Tycoon." He ignored them. He stopped beside Emily, who lifted her tear-streaked face. Her eyes widened, confused, wary. "Your daughter," Richard said, his voice calm yet firm. "What's wrong with her?" Emily blinked, clutching the teddy bear tighter. She needs surgery. "But they won't." Her voice cracked. "They won't do it without money." Richard turned sharply to the receptionist, his tone cut like steel. "Get the doctors. Prepare the surgery. I'll cover every expense." The receptionist's jaw dropped. "Sir, are you serious? The cost is—" "Did I ask for cost?" Richard snapped. "Move. Now." The room fell silent. Emily gasped, her hands flying to her mouth. "Why?" she whispered. "Why would you do this for me? You don't even know me." Richard's eyes softened, just a fraction. "Because once someone saved me when I didn't deserve it. And I promised myself, if I ever had the chance, I'd do the same for someone else." Emily broke into uncontrollable sobs, clutching his hand. For the first time in years, Richard didn't pull away. Hours later, Lily was wheeled into the operating room. Red lights flickered on above the door, leaving Emily and Richard waiting in agonizing silence. Every second felt like a lifetime. Emily whispered prayers. Richard sat stiffly in a chair, staring at the floor, his mind drifting back to his mother, her sacrifices, her kindness, the love that once shaped him. Somewhere along the way, he had buried it under wealth and power. But Emily's cry had unearthed it. At last, the operating room doors swung open. The surgeon stepped out, removing his mask. "Successful," he announced. "The girl will recover." Emily collapsed into tears of relief, whispering, "Thank you, God." She hugged the teddy bear tightly, her body shaking with joy and exhaustion. Richard exhaled slowly, a weight lifting off his chest. He hadn't realized how tightly he'd been holding his breath. Moments later, Emily was allowed into the recovery room. Lily lay pale but smiling weakly. "Mommy," she whispered. Emily kissed her forehead again and again, tears dripping onto the bedsheet. "I'm here, baby. You're safe now." Lily's gaze shifted to Richard, who stood in the doorway, hands in his pockets. "Who's that?" she asked softly. Emily turned. Her voice cracked. That's the man who saved your life." Lily tilted her head, her childlike innocence piercing through the room. "Are you an angel?" Richard froze. Slowly, a small smile curved his lips, the first real one in years. "No, little one. Just someone who finally remembered what it means to be human." Days later, Emily and Lily left the hospital. They had no riches, no mansion to return to, but they carried something far more valuable: hope. Richard watched them from afar, declining interviews, avoiding headlines. He never wanted recognition. For him, the true reward was the laughter of a little girl and the gratitude in a mother's tearful smile. That night, Richard sat alone in his penthouse, staring out at the glittering city skyline. For the first time in years, the lights didn't feel so cold. His mother's words echoed in his mind. "True wealth isn't what you keep, it's what you give." And he finally understood. Because sometimes the greatest fortune is not measured in billions, but in the lives we choose to save, the tears we choose to wipe, and the hope we choose to restore. Moral: kindness is the only investment that never fails. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And tell us in the comments, why do you think kindness still matters in today's world?